Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we're going to learn how to pack a $20,000 guitar for shipment. Our specimen today is one of the very rare The Les Pauls. This one's from the last year of production, 1979, and it is going to its new home today. Now this guitar is actually in really clean condition, and I'd like to keep it that way while it's in transit. So the first thing we need to do is make sure it has a hardshell case. This is the original Artist Series case, and I really do not like these cases as far as protection because they only have one neck rest, and some of these cases the headstock will actually touch down. This one's a little bit better than some of the others I've had, but we're definitely going to want to give the headstock more support, make sure the heel is supported, and we have to make sure that all this wiggle room you're seeing is completely ceased. The best way to do that is with bubble wrap. Other people like to use packing paper or newspapers, but I actually don't suggest doing that because that will scratch your guitar up, and sometimes the ink from the newspapers can bleed off onto your guitar. Some people might argue the bubble wrap could affect the nitro, but I've been shipping like this for years. I think this stuff is safe. So the first step I like to do, I like to double one of these bubble wraps over. That way this gives the end pin some support. And then we give the rest of the case some support as well. If I notice there's not a lot of heel support, I like to take one of these, fold it in half, and fold it in half again to give the heel the extra support it needs, just in case it does experience some trauma. Now to create the second neck rest that we need, I just take more bubble wrap and fold it up. I roll it like so, and then I fold it in half. So as you can see, it just kind of makes a U shape right here. At this point, the next step is to prepare the guitar. Now there is a lot of debate about this, but I personally prefer to reduce the tension of the strings while in transit. This way, if it does experience some trauma, you don't have this much force on the neck acting against you. So I'm going to go ahead and detune this guitar now. Now you're going to notice I did not take all the tension off, because if you completely take the strings off or have zero tension at all, sometimes you'll have to readjust your neck once you get it. I mean, a lot of people do that anyways, but I find this usually keeps the setup pretty well. Another pro tip here is you want to make sure all your tuning pegs are flat, because if you have one like this, it's that much closer to touching the bottom of the headstock. Sometimes your tuning pegs can actually break. I actually had this happen on one of these The Les Pauls in transit before coming to me. So make sure all of your tuning pegs are flat like this. The next thing you want to do is remove the toggle switch cap. I can't tell you how many of these things get broken in transit to me. One little bing and they just crack. Now that might not seem like such a big deal on a modern day Gibson. You can buy one of these toggle switch caps for like $5. However, on a vintage example, these are more expensive to buy era correct. So we will go ahead and remove this one. Now I'll be honest, I don't always do this step, but when you're shipping a guitar, it is a good idea to remove this bottom strap pin, because I've seen guitars that just crack up the body because they get dropped. And this end pin is just basically like a giant chisel waiting to crack your guitar right up the center. So it is a good idea to remove this, especially on a high-end, irreplaceable Les Paul. Now we don't have a giant chisel at the bottom of the guitar. You could also remove the top one, but it really doesn't pose any threat to the guitar. So from here I take that bottom strap pin and the switch tip and I wrap it up in bubble wrap and put it inside the case. It's also a good idea to put your contact information in with here, just in case the guitar gets lost and they need to contact you because they found just the guitar part of the package. And then for good measure I like to fold these over like this. And then I like to tape this down, that way none of these parts get jostled loose in transit and scratch your guitar up. That happens a lot more often than you'd think, things escaping from the compartment. So now we have this nice little bundle to put inside of the case. It's also not a bad idea to go ahead and fill this in with extra bubble wrap, once again to prevent things from falling out of it. And now I take a double sheet of this bubble wrap, I fold it lengthwise, and then I fold it again up here. This creates additional neck support. We'll want to use this doubled over side to help create this second neck rest again. So now our case is looking a lot more protective. It's a lot of stuff to put in there, but it's definitely worth it for the protection of any guitar. So now we just have to put our guitar in. So to review here, we have our tuning pegs facing up flat like this. Once again, if we had it like this, it's that much closer to the bottom of the case, and you don't want that. We've now created the second neck rest. This once again protects the guitar's headstock from being dropped and touching the bottom of the case and cracking. We now have support at the bottom and all sides of the case. And remember how it used to move up and down a lot? Now I can't move it at all without the case moving. We also have our toggle switch removed, as well as the bottom strap pin, so it doesn't act as a chisel. Now these empty spots here, you don't have to fill them in, but due to the value of this guitar, I'm going to go ahead and do that. This final step for packing the guitar in the case is just to prevent fret wear. Some people feel that when you close the lid of the case, the strings are now pressing down against the frets, and as it bumps along in a truck, that can create fret wear. And that is true, it can create some light fret wear. So in order to get around that, I put little business cards covering the frets to protect them. So here we go, this guitar is now ready for transit. Putting bubble wrap over top the guitar, that's optional. I don't usually do that, but once again, this is a very special Les Paul. I want to make sure it arrives in one piece. Some people insist that you should fill in this empty cavity up here. I actually disagree with that. The more stuff that's around your headstock, the easier it is for vibrations to transfer through. So by filling this area in, essentially what you're doing is making the headstock touch the bottom of the case, which is the complete opposite of what we're trying to do here. She's ready to go. Alright, I usually don't use a box that's shaped like this, but I actually do prefer these larger ones. I believe these are better for protecting your guitar because you can add a lot more packing materials, and they're directly in the center, and you have a little bit of room just in case a forklift does go straight through your box. So this is a box that a guitar was sent to me in. This is like a 6-walled box with a double-walled side. So I'm very happy I have this box to use for this guitar. I think it'll definitely protect this guitar during transit. You'll want to measure up your case to the box, because that tells you how much padding you can put at the top and the bottom. So we've got a good couple inches on both. Alright, so we've added our padding for the bottom. And you can see the guitar fits in the box just perfectly. Now we will add the rest of the padding around this guitar. Now I am going to continue filling this box in, but I do want to point out that once again, this guitar is directly in the middle. You have this much room for a forklift to impale your package before it hits the guitar. It's a lot better than the outside of the box being right there. So here it is all packed up. You kind of want it to be overextended. That way you have to really push down on the lid when you tape it and get as much protective material in there as you can. And now you just get to go tape happy. Alright, so here it is all packed up. Notice I clearly marked the top of the box top, and I have arrows all over this box to let the courier know that's the way it's supposed to go. Most of these guitar boxes get shipped on their side anyways, but this makes it look a lot better in your favor on an insurance claim. Now you don't have to use fancy fragile tape like I do, but I think it just makes it look better. It tells the courier, hey, this thing might be valuable. If you're reusing a box, make sure you black out any of the barcodes that might be on it from a previous label. I'll eventually cover those over even more, because that's the last thing you want is the guitar to be rerouted to you. So that is this guitar ready to be shipped out. I hope you troglodytes enjoyed this video on how I pack high-end guitars. And honestly, this is pretty much how I pack all of my guitars. Once again, I don't always take the end pins off, but I think I probably should start to. I just think it might inconvenience the buyer a little bit too much, especially if they don't own a screwdriver. However, I think most people do. Thank you for watching, troglodytes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.